So I've actually been recording for a long time, even before I was recording hip-hop stuff, but usually that was at friends' houses on 4-track cassette. All the people I knew who did home recordings, which was like the only option. I mean, it was either home recording on a 4-track cassette or like pay $300 an hour to go to a studio or something. I don't know anyone who went to a studio back in the day unless you were like on a label or something. I was just a kid. So 4-track cassette is how I recorded almost the entire first album, with the exception of the 3 songs that are on my first 12-inch. Because that's all I knew. I mean, the people I knew who did it that way. And when stuff, I don't actually know how it was recorded, but when things like Dead Bent came out, MF Doom, not his first record because he was in KMD, but when he came back out as MF Doom and had this 12-inch, Dead Bent 12-inch, it sounds like it's recorded on cassette. I don't know if it was, but the sound is so gritty and just had this, that record was so inspiring to me. Like, that was when I was like, I'm gonna get my own equipment and stop borrowing shit from people, and just because it wasn't like I was saying I could do this, because to me that record was well beyond what I was capable of, but in a way I could hear how it was put together. Because another one of my favorite things about that record is that it's made out of records that we all have already. It's made out of an Isaac Hayes record, out of Walk On By, which if you're fucking crate digging 101, you have that record. That is not an obscure record. Right. It's got BDP drums off of like Poetry or one of those songs off Criminal Minded, still my favorite KRS-One album. And so it was just like doubly inspiring. So not only did it sound like he made it kind of homemade, and yet it was still dope, and people were still interested in hearing it, like Bobbito put it out on his label, but I could see how it was a puzzle. He had taken the shit everybody had and just flipped it into something pretty late on. I mean, I don't think I was out of college when I got that, and that's why I say buy your equipment early on. Like I tried to get my dad to get me a 4-track in junior high or high school, and there was some misunderstanding somewhere along those, and I ended up with a 4-track mixer. It's not, so I could like play 4 instruments live at once, but I couldn't even play 1 instrument live. So I wanted that tape that you could keep overdubbing on, like, because the real first raps I ever recorded were cassette to cassette, just on like a 2 cassette stereo, like a boombox, pause tapes. Like I would beatbox and then dub a loop onto the other tape and just like keep adding. But like this, getting familiar with that process, I was familiar with recording on tape, but I didn't know how to record raps. So when I got my 4-track and my sampler and started making beats and started recording, I mean, all that stuff ended up on Welcome to Brooklyn, but it sounds homemade. And some people, that's the appeal, For some people, just like when I heard the MF Doom, it was appealing to me that it wasn't crisp and clean. It just was fucking gritty. Like, same thing when Company Flow came out. Like, the drums, I mean, it's like you could see him pressing the buttons. They go like, gung, 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 or whatever. That was really, I had a real visceral reaction to that. My first CD. Good, it's on Bomb Hip Hop Records there. That's like the cosign. Got the label shit on it. So, yeah, my favorite songs on this. I mean, this was such a weird album because I recorded it in my living room, 1 song at a time. Like I said, never intending it to be an album. All these songs, like, really, I just had, they represent, like, the day I recorded them to me. I wrote a lot of songs for my, at that time, my girlfriend, not my wife. There's some songs on here for her. There's, like, a couple of songs that were actually, so I was really broke and I couldn't afford to get my best friend a birthday present. So, and that's like my man's just supported me since day one. And so I made him some songs because he's like also one of my biggest supporters of my music. And those actually ended up on here. And that, I mean, it's a little, I don't want to say embarrassing because it's real. It's like, but it's like songs from my dude on here.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
They have a very similar vibe to the girlfriend songs. But no, I mean, I support those who support me. So like, I have definitely made songs for friends in the past. So these just happen to end up on the album. But because like that's the other thing about growing up with so much music is like clearly everyone can make great music. It's not narrowed by, you know, race or religion or any shit like that. Like, music is totally universal, and if you go to some foreign country with your music, people will relate to that on a really direct, emotional, personal level. So, yeah, I mean, I am not afraid to make a song for my best friend, because everybody's got a best friend. I hope you have a best friend. You know, and people can relate to that. And like, hip hop, you know, it's not always the music about showing your feelings the most. It is much more so now these days, and you know, thanks to a lot of people who have come before me. But you know, there'll always be a kind of machismo thing and a current of that, of like not wanting to be embarrassed by smiling or showing a soft side. But you know, right. I mean, you have Ice Cube doing Dead Homies. It's like, you know, there's always been people who are willing to do that. But for a lot of times, like, hip hop either had a couple of emotions, like angry or sad. You know, sad because someone died, but the many, right, like, you know, maybe a grandparent or a parent. And I have made songs like that. I mean, I think that's still a legit type of song. But you know, there's a lot of shades of emotion that finally I think hip hop is starting to. You know, the more that the music becomes less just like a loop or something really simple, the more breadth I think there will be too for emotional content in music. And I mean, you could write something emotional over hand clapping too. I guess the music doesn't, you know, mean everything to it, but I just like that there's more complexity now in terms of the emotional spectrum and what people are doing. There's some cool things on this album that were like that to me, you know, that were really personal. So if I had to name the songs, B-Day Document 99, but if I just have to throw something on nowadays, and this is an old album, I do not throw it on a lot. I listen to Santa Ana Winds. It was on my record, and it's like a good cool out mellow song. It's got a sample that people will, like a reflipped sample that a lot of people will recognize from a very hot song on the Common Sense Resurrection album. So I was briefly in Oakland, did most of the first album there, and then we moved to Santa Cruz. And you know, those are the guys I met at the record store. Basically, I met this cat Matty I, and he is like the mayor of the Santa Cruz hip hop scene. I love that guy, and he just introduced me around town to a bunch of guys who were making music there, and ladies and gentlemen making music in town. And you know, they just treated me like family, like right out of the box. So Rec League is a crew, and it's a group of musicians, but it's more just like a big social club of people who hang out. It's a lot of friends and family, and people who have been roommates of each other and stuff like that, and people who went to school together. And I was an outsider because I came from another town, and they, you know, embraced me. And so I started recording at some of their houses, and eventually they built a studio at my man Rob Rush's house, and at the rec center in where Maddie still lives. And we started, you know, just making a lot of music together. Just, they're my friends, and so, you know, that's what you do. And some of the music we made is really good. Some of it's just fun, you know, and whatever. But yeah, it's a big team. I think if I try and name even all the musicians, I'll probably forget somebody. But it's worth naming. Rec League All Stars, Rob Rush, Matty I, not rapping as much anymore, more just doing business stuff, owns a store in Santa Cruz, So Fresh Clothing. Everybody should go check that out. My man Cume, album The Happy Hour, I produced 7 of the 14 tracks on that, so if you want to hear Grip Grand beats without Grip Grand talking on them, that's a good way to go. And my man Richie Cunning is really excellent MC from San Francisco, big part of the Rec. He put out an album a little while back called Night Train that, you know, if you like boom bap, like classic 90s sound, you can definitely get it from that album. And now he's on to future things, a really talented rapper and producer. Haji P also has a good album, Neighborhood Kid. Everybody should check for that, produced by MF Shalem, who produced my next collaboration album, and we might talk about that a little later. And Pro, man, my man Pro, whose mixtape, I think it's called Whatever You're On, I'll Have Two, or I'll Take Two. Sorry for getting that wrong, but man, that shit is next level. Really go get that. routinefly.com. That's where the rec league music is mostly located, and all that stuff can be attained there. I encourage you to support the rec. But yeah, that's just like my family first and foremost. Like, really helped teach me. Like Rob Rush basically taught me how to record on a computer. It was like, leave the tape alone, ditch the cassette, and get with digital. And Richie Cunning taught me how to use Reason, and which I still use to do a lot of my productions. So like those guys, some of them are younger than me, but I learned a lot from them, and just like everyone along the way, really blessed to meet good people who share their talent and skills and help me get where I'm at, and that rec league is definitely that.